Good morning and welcome everybody to the Connect Show. We are so happy to be here. Excited. Are we excited?
The trio is back together.
The trio's back together. We got the band back together. The van is outside and we are ready to rock today. So I'm so excited because next week is the company picnic.
I know. I can't believe it's coming up so fast.
It's a company picnic for people who don't have a company, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, or people who just want to hang out and eat pork butt.
And play Jenga.
Yep.
And what else? What are the other games? I don't remember.
I don't know if we have bags. Do we have bags?
We will make bags happen.
Bags are going to happen.
Yep. Maybe some custom graphics on the board. Wouldn't that be sweet? Let's make it happen.
John just gave himself a new project.
There we go. Arts and crafts is going to be happening today. Maybe a little glitter. I'm loving it.
Glitter.
Yeah, glitter for Tracy.
A really fun thing about glitter. I don't know that it's really appropriate, but I heard it's like a STD, and once it's there, it never goes away. Once you get on.
That is fantastic. So now that we've all
welcome to the Connect Show. Good morning.
We've caught the glitter bug, and we started early with things to talk about that we shouldn't talk about. That's fantastic. My name's John Taylor. Welcome to the Connect Show. We're so excited to be here. I am with my partners in crime, Kim. I had too many nicknames in high school, and I don't want any more in adulthood. Knock from Opportunities Knocking, who does social media, web design, and other wonderful things to help you grow your brand. And next to me is Tracy. Tarsi, if you're nasty, champagne.
Hey.
Coming to you live
Tarsi
from
is a real thing.
Studio A5. Take it away, Tracy.
So welcome everybody to the show. We are on show number, I think it's 38 in this session.
Yeah, we're on slide 1 right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
37.
I was 37. I was so close. I was so close.
You're so excited for the picnic to be 38, right?
So today we're talking all about how to find a coach to help you grow, and we've already introduced Miss Kim, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about the stuff that I've been doing behind the scenes over here. So at the Connect Show, we have a lot of people doing a whole lot of things to help everybody see the show, do some social media, networking, all those kinds of things. My main business is Small Business Milwaukee, digital marketing, website design. And on the side of that, I'm helping with the Greenfield Chamber as the president. And when I'm not doing that, I'm eating fish fries at the Friday Fish Fry Guide.
Yes, ma'am. Well, like everyone said, I am Kim Knock, and my business is Opportunities Knocking. Boom, boom, boom. I do all the social media stuffs. I have some fun food truck stuff for the state of Wisconsin. So all kinds of great things happening. And today we have two guests, Heike He-Man. I'm going to say He-Man because I like it. Heyman. Oh, Heyman. Oh, that kind of sounds Jamaican to me, Mom. Yeah. I like it. And Cassandra Wynn. We're very much looking forward to our conversations with our guests today.
Mm-hmm. And always, we want to thank our fantastic partners. Today, the Connect Show is brought to you by Nurture Generations, who is Cassandra Wynn, and our special guest, Cassandra Wynn, who does acupuncture, counseling, feng shui, is that how you say that word?
That's
and many other services, as she will be here to share those with us later.
We have to thank our hosting sponsor, Expansive Workspace, where we broadcast every week out of Studio A5, beautiful Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, in the background of our show. There are also locations in Milwaukee and 42 other locations throughout the country. If you're interested in becoming a member of the Workspace, visit expansive.com.
And whether you're a member of Expansive or just a guest, join us at the Expansive Workspace next week for a company picnic, June 20th from 11 to 1. Shameless plug. Go ahead.
That's great. Great. So our show is every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central. So if you have a topic that you think we should be discussing, maybe a suggestion for a guest that should be on the show, please contact us at ideas@theconnectshow.com.
Our thanks again to last week's guests, Danny Schley and Jessica Dragon. We talked about building businesses, all the things that go into it, focusing on your finances, some web development, and a lot more. It was a great show, and we got to have John back, and we got him back again today.
I know.
Love it.
Two weeks in a row. Remember, the Connect Show is interactive. So if you're over on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, please make a comment in the chat because we will see it. Kim and John both have it sitting here right next to us.
We're ready.
So we will see those comments and we can respond to you. So if you're out there, jump in, say hi, tell us where you're from, and join our event.
Mm-hmm.
We're all volunteers here at the Connect Show, like Tracy said, working on social media, working on booking guests. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and we all do it because we love all of you. So if you want to be a part of our team, email us at ideas@theconnectshow.com. Thank you to everyone that's involved. If you're contributing in the chat, you're involved too, so thank you.
And special thanks and a shout out to the volunteers here today.
Yes.
Sandra did our makeup. We have Cassandra running the showrunner, Cassie K, and Jordan is on the switch doing the ones and twos. Thank you so much,
We
Jordan.
got John back because of all these love.
And we should mention a shout out to Mitch also, who used to be over here doing our guest hype spot, but recently just became employed with a new business. So his time has become a little tight, but we will totally miss him, appreciate his time that he was here. So
And we'll accept him whenever he decides to show up.
Maybe he'll have a sick day and he can come back.
What's a bummer is we were going to make him employee of the month, and then he went and got another job. So I guess we'll just have to find somebody else.
Sorry, lost out.
Okay, I'm giving a quote to Mr. John today.
Okay, the quote of the day is, whenever you see a successful business, someone once made a courageous decision. And that's by Pete Drucker. He's a business consultant. Check him out on the wikis.
Okay, so we're moving on to our question of the day. So this is a bit of a thinker question. So when you're moving forward to make a big choice in your life, such as maybe getting a coach, or I mean, I've run into problems just deciding on what refrigerator to buy. But how do you see yourself when you're faced with a big decision? Like, what are the things that you do? What process do you take in order to finally get down to that end decision? Is it based on gut? Is it based on a list? Tell me.
You said you had an answer for this, kind of like a good one, right?
I do have a good answer
Let's
for
hear
this.
from you first, because you would never answer first.
Okay, all of a sudden,
Let's go.
I'm thinking I need to make a big decision. It's going to be this or this or this, or maybe it's going to be nothing. I just don't do anything. I go sleep on it, or I go exercise, or I do anything to not think about it, because what will happen is the time that you're not thinking about it, it will just kind of come to you what you should probably be doing. That is my
I
good
get a lot
answer.
of my thinking done in the car, like driving.
And then you miss exits.
I did it this morning.
I know.
Totally bypassed the exit because I was thinking about some other huge project that I need to work on, and I have a month to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, those are when big decisions happen. When I'm just kind of in a zone, radio might be on a little bit in the background, but I kind of like you, I definitely procrastinate to that answer, till that answer comes to me, I think.
And I think I do a ton of research.
Yeah.
A ton of research, and make no decisions, just be open-minded to everything, and then just wait for the decision to happen to me instead of me making it, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, John?
Well, I was recently faced with this when I had a new coach, and the amount that they wanted to charge me was different from what I had in my mind. By a large amount. There was a big difference there. And so the way that the decision became easier is by talking with the coach about it. They talked about what would it take for you to get there? How much business would you have to do? A number of questions like that. And then I looked at it like, if I was doing this amount of business, which is different than what I'm doing right now, could that cost be justified? And it ended up being about 5 to 7% of my yearly income would go to a coach, which I think for me, that's a good number. I think I feel comfortable with that. Some people say 10%, but for a coach, I think that there's a quantification that you can put how much you should put into your self growth or your personal growth and development. And there's, Google and everything else can help you with those numbers.
I think that's a really, really, really cool key point. Like that the coach helped coach you through that cost. Because if the coach can't help you coach through why it's fair for them to charge this amount and what your ROI would be on it, maybe that's not the coach for you. But that is a great way for a coach to say, no, this is worth it for you because I see this in you and I think we can get you here.
Yep.
Yeah, it's better than them just saying, it's worth it to invest in it. It gave you something concrete to work with, because I've seen anybody trying to sell you anything, if they're not really getting down to where your brain's at and your level, then you're just going to keep looking at them going, you're not giving me what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to want to work with them, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's like if you were looking for a refrigerator, and the refrigerator, you're like, well, I want to spend $100 on a refrigerator, just as an example.
Okay.
And then you went to the store and they said, well, we're going to give you the refrigerators start at $800. You know, and then you were like, oh, that's not even in like the realm.
Yeah.
Of what I was thinking.
Not even in the ballpark.
Yeah. Then
So tell me how I can work, what's going to get me to buy that $800 refrigerator, or how can I work towards that?
Yeah.
Then you can
right.
work toward, then if you have a much better thing than walking out of there going, God, I'll never be able to get the refrigerator.
Yep. Well, I think it's value. You know, if there's value to what you're buying and it's worth it, then you can justify the cost. With a refrigerator, for you, that might be really important to spend that money on the refrigerator. For me, I'd be like, let's get a used one for $50 and put it in there. Because if it keeps it cold, I'm good.
Right.
Yeah, but somebody else might be, well, I really need that touch screen.
I need the touch screen. I need the filtered water. The ice better be this size, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were to pick a coach, what would you do to put value on a coach? What would make it worth it to you?
Honestly, I think the coach has to sell me that they are the master in their skill, in the skill that I'm looking for. And that's something that I find really hard to come by. And I've had this conversation with a number of coaches. And unfortunately, I'm not a super fan of the term anymore because I feel like it's getting overused. I don't know why, but I mean, and I absolutely don't want to offend anybody, but if you're not the master in your skill, you're not going to be able to coach someone. So I need someone that's steps above me to coach me. And I think that that's super important because I've watched people hire and waste on coaches, and not that those coaches are bad, but if the coaches are honest and say, I'm just getting started and this is where I'd like us to work together, that could totally still be a sale for me. Like, let's do it together and let's figure out how this is. Or I have totally mastered this skill and I want to pull those things out of you to show that you can do it. That's where I'm at.
And on that point, there are a lot of coaches who are just starting out, and there's been opportunities where that I have found that coaches will say, hey, I will work with you for 2 sessions or 3 sessions. I will get you to this point. And if I get you to this point, then I'd like to charge you a ton of money.
Absolutely. And that would be so fair.
That's like a fair thing because it is, sometimes you just don't know that you need that mindset thing or to get over that fear. And so you might need a starting point to just kind of get the ball rolling, and then you can see that change, and then you can justify the value.
Because I think a lot of times we would like a coach. We know where we're struggling, but we don't know what we don't know. So
exactly,
you don't know who is the right fit if you don't know yourself well enough to know where you need the help.
Yeah,
like you know your symptoms, but you don't know what the actual thing is.
The symptoms match for multiple things.
Right, so which one is it? Right.
Yeah, what do you got?
Right.
Yep.
So I'm all about honesty. Sorry, my microphone just decided it wanted to jump off.
It's okay. Here, I'll cover for you. So, we're running everything behind the scenes, Jordan is, and he's making us look good. And if you have any comments, be sure to put them into the chat. And if there's any comments, we can put them on the screen, but there is
We're
not.
looking like we've got none.
So,
I'm thinking, do we have any commercials for the picnic ready? Or
well, we have one of these, which is a nice little flyer that can say, "Hey, come to our picnic on June 20th."
Nice.
In the courtyard. It's right down there, which you can't see us pointing because the screen is off. But anyways, now we can just sit and do whatever we want because no one can see us.
We should move into our next guest then.
Oh, that would be fantastic. How would I do that while you guys talk about the picnic a little bit?
Picnic last year. What did you think? We had quite a showing.
We had like 50, 60 people that we had a great photo taken.
Great photos.
It was so windy though. Here was like whoosh,
Yes,
like
and I wore a
up
dress
against
and I
my
tried
side.
not to have a Marilyn Monroe moment.
Yes. It was a great party though. We had a
Went
food
over
truck.
huge.
Yep. We had a food truck with tacos and lots of great food
And now they have a brick and mortar right
Yeah.
down the street. That was Mex Avenue was Taco Barrio, so that's pretty cool. So we are ready for our first guest.
Awesome. And we're back. So welcome Heike to the show. Heike is passionate about helping others shine in their careers, both corporate and entrepreneurial. Her specialty is supporting mid-career professionals to upgrade their professional brand on LinkedIn, to attract clients, or to find better career opportunities. Heike works with executives on building their personalized LinkedIn strategy and profile.
Heike wore numerous professional hats, including sales, marketing, and general management roles spanning several industries before starting Idea Share Coaching in 2013. I like the name Idea Share. That's great. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Spanish from Hood College, a Master's in International Management from the Thunderbird School of Global Management, and her coaching certification through the Professional Business Coaches Alliance. She is also a distinguished Toastmaster.
She is. Welcome to the show. Did you see John's little slip of the camera? That was pretty cute.
I didn't. That's all right.
You'll see it in the replay.
No, I will.
So our question of the day is so exciting to have you here. So how do you make big decisions? And like, what's your process for that? Like, do you have a coach, and how did you decide to have a coach? And
I do have a coach, and she's helped me with a number of decisions. And I've used different techniques over time. I've used the pros and cons written down list on a sheet of paper. It does help me to talk things through. Somehow that brings out things that me by myself with a blank sheet of paper doesn't come out.
Yeah.
I just process it differently. And I think a lot of people do actually process decision-making or just anything in general by talking about it. So, and earlier, one of you mentioned that you're just letting it come to you. I do like to step aside from things, from things as simple as, Wordle if I get stuck.
Right.
Okay, I'll move that aside and I'll come back to it. And then it seems easy. So it varies by situation, by size of decision, the impact. So try different things.
I like what you said about talking through it, because I definitely I like to collaborate with different people and find out other people's opinions. Some things are a little closer to your heart, harder to talk about with people, but some things it's really good to get an outside perspective.
Right, exactly.
And sometimes I think you surprise yourself on some of the things that you say when you start talking.
Yes.
Like when Tracy and I'll have a conversation, sometimes we'll start one area and then we've gone off somewhere totally different because our ideas just go bananas, right?
Yes.
So it's great.
Absolutely.
So I absolutely love LinkedIn. It's pretty much my favorite social media. What is the value of LinkedIn to someone who's not currently seeking a job?
Oh my gosh. LinkedIn is the representation of your network is your net worth. The more people you know, the better chance you have of not just finding a job, but finding a client, finding the right employee, finding a vendor that you trust. And one of the things that I really like about LinkedIn is that you get recommendations that aren't anonymous. The person that does the recommending attaches their picture, their title with your name. It's a credibility factor. So it's that know, like, and trust factor. They talk about the skills they've experienced you with that are potentially important to people that you might want to sell to. And so it's that third-party endorsement, if you will. Plus, LinkedIn has a lot of other benefits. You can use it for learning if you follow people that are experts in a space that maybe you're not an expert in. Let's say you're a CPA and your challenge is marketing. Well, follow a marketing expert and read their stuff. and you can learn a lot. You can build your reputation based on what you post. So as that CPA, are you posting about your expertise? Caveat there, though, you don't want to post more than 20% about your business. The rest should be helpful content to your target audience. So maybe you share some information about a management topic, or about hiring practices, or how to be a good interviewer, because if that CPA wants to grow their practice and wants to hire people, well, they need to find the right people. And if you don't know how to interview, if you're the one just talking about your company, not actually asking the candidate, for instance, then you're missing out on maybe the best candidate. So there's a lot that LinkedIn represents beyond just an extension of your resume.
Yeah, I think it kind of has the reputation, not the rep, the reputation of go on LinkedIn when you want to find a job.
Yeah, it's
And
too late now.
solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, we find so much more value in it than
There
that.
is a lot. The thing is consistency. You have to be there. You have to interact with other people, and you have to really share what you have and interact with others. It can't just be you putting stuff out. You have to, interact behind the scenes on the messenger side. You have to interact with other people's comments. All that contributes to the LinkedIn algorithm bringing you up higher in search.
Yeah, and to your point, unfortunately, when you're trying to look for a job, just jumping on LinkedIn then is not going to help you very much.
No, especially if you haven't built a network.
You should
Right.
be well established.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the plan is to get it started. I would say kids right out of high school, should be starting their LinkedIn page and constantly nurturing it for that, for all those opportunities that are going to come their way.
And getting the endorsements for their accomplishments. Very true.
These days, people change not just jobs, but sometimes careers multiple times in their lifespan.
And it just changes their whole life, whatever they're doing, it just goes with them.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be, because your career was kind of eliminated, or there's not that much in terms of opportunity, or it could be that you have to move and now you're starting over in a new city. If you have no network, who is going to help you? I mean, I moved from Wisconsin to Maryland for 14 years. And when I arrived, I had one contact. The person hired me in a 5-person company.
Oh, wow.
I started absolutely from scratch with in-person networking, with online networking, and LinkedIn was a great help.
Yeah.
I would put things out there like, I need a dentist. Can you send me recommendations? It was kind of like the Yelp of back then. But it goes beyond that, because you can go into one-on-one conversations and really learn from other people. And they're happy to connect you. Everybody wants to help.
Everybody does.
And if you make it easy for them to help, then, everybody wins.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the biggest mistakes people make on LinkedIn, and what tips do you have for people to improve their LinkedIn profile?
How many hours do we have?
Well,
Okay, so...
you got a little time, so tell us everything you know.
Biggest mistakes is starting a profile and then abandoning it. It doesn't help you anything. Even if you have the very best LinkedIn profile, if you don't come back and interact, then it's going to drop in ratings and people are not going to see you come up in search anymore. So you got to complete it and you got to keep showing up. And in terms of tips, you really have to pay attention to that top header section of your profile, which includes your headshot, which should be done professionally. And if you can't right this minute, have at least someone else take your picture. Your headline, which defaults to your current job title, but your job title isn't enough. You have 220 characters where you can create a story of why someone should connect with you. What is your expertise? Who do you help? So do you help Fortune 500 companies, or do you help entrepreneurs? Do you help women lose weight after pregnancy, or do you help people to run a marathon? You have to be talking about who you help, what you help them with, and then either what the benefit is that you bring, or something that you help them avoid, a pain point you avoid. So let's say you want to become fit, you want to trim your midsection, but you hate sit-ups. Well, if you come across a personal trainer that says, I help people slim down after pregnancy without doing sit-ups, I'm not going to contact that one. So be specific. And there are a couple other sections in your headline. The banner is one that you can customize. Whatever you do, it's not permanent, but do something.
Now, isn't it true that using the right words as far as a keyword approach, because many people are looking for
Yes.
people or for things that you do on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about people who might not understand what the keyword part of that would mean?
So
Like being,
just to go really basic, if
Yeah.
you're going on LinkedIn or on Google and you're looking for shoes, you're going to get, 5 million results.
Mhm.
But if you're looking for red sneakers, men's size 10, then your selection is going to be much smaller. So red sneakers, men's size 10, that's a keyword string. Shoes is a keyword, but it's
Too
not
broad.
specific enough.
Right.
And the same applies to your LinkedIn profile. If you are a CPA, then don't just put CPA, put CPA for entrepreneurs who use QuickBooks or something, whatever your expertise is. That is a keyword string that you can repeat in your headline, in your about section, in your current experience. If anything ties in from previous experiences, by all means, list it there as well. But you want to use keywords throughout. And so you really have to be strategic about what is it you want to be found for in the first place. And that takes some think time.
it does. Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to just throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. What is it who is it you're targeting? What do you want to be found for? And if you're in a technical field, also use language for the non-techies, the non-experts in your field. So, if you're used to using a lot of abbreviations, I keep coming back to CPA, but it could be, VP, also spell it out. In your headline, maybe say VP of marketing, and in your text, vice president of marketing. So, because you don't know how people are going to search for you.
Right.
So
And that's the whole goal, is to be found.
Exactly.
Right.
You want to be found, and then have some solid content and a well fleshed out profile that really helps with that know, like, and trust factor.
Mm-hmm. What about the leaving reviews parts? Like, is it good for people to leave? Is that good
Recommendations?
for recommendations?
Yes.
Is it good for other businesses to be leaving recommendations for themselves? Or is it just for the benefit of the person's page to get the recommendations?
It goes both ways, because you can be found through a recommendation you have given to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're looking at someone's profile and they have a recommendation, you're like, well, okay, that sounds great, but who is the person who did the recommending? And if you click on that person's name, it'll get you to your profile. So giving recommendation actually has a secondary benefit. It can help you get found. And that's useful. And it also shows your writing skills. It shows how you play with others, So by all means, don't just wait to get recommendations, but give recommendations as well. It's really important to show that you are a giver, because givers gain, as they say in BNI. But it shows that you're a helpful person.
Mm-hmm.
Those are great tips, I think, especially for someone just starting out to clean up their LinkedIn profile. Maybe they've even had it for 10 years, but they're like, well, I've been on LinkedIn, I never touch it. You still have time to go back, fix those things.
Right.
I know you've done that a number of times.
I have. And I go through and I make sure, I really try to focus on especially that header.
Yeah.
And secondary to that, sometimes people want to put their entire resume all on LinkedIn, which is great. List everything you've done. But if it's not relevant, one thing that I've noticed, if it's not relevant to where they're moving forward, it's not necessary to say, hi, I worked at McDonald's from this date to this date. And these were all my duties. Go ahead, put that job in there, but focus your duties on what you're currently seeking.
Absolutely.
So you're not falling in the wrong searches.
Yes, absolutely. You don't want to come up for something that you're not.
Right. Like you don't feel like dumping that basket of fries anymore. That was 15 years ago, but you don't want to show a gap, so it makes.
I'm out of the fry dumping.
Right.
Part of my life.
And setting up a business profile is just as important as a personal, I think.
Right.
Too, so.
Absolutely.
We didn't talk about the business profile part at all.
Oh, the company page. Yes,
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a nice free resource for any entrepreneur out there. You can set up a company page. don't set up your personal profile for your company. It really has to be you, the person. That is important because LinkedIn's algorithm will ding you if you do that. But set up a separate company page where you have space for a separate header and you can explain what you do. You can post separately under there. You can then cross-post. You can post on your company page and then share it through your personal page. Absolutely, there's that cross-linking. And people can follow your company page without being connected to you. So that's absolutely something you want to do.
So with you have Toastmasters experience. You do a lot of presentations for a large group of people, or do you go into companies and talk to them about LinkedIn?
Yes and yes. I think the biggest one was for a CPA firm in DC, where I did a presentation for their entire staff. It was a large group, but I've done a presentation on behalf of a local bank that did pull together their current or potential small business clients to offer that as a benefit, to kind of make themselves stand apart from the really big banks. It's like, okay, we'll offer this LinkedIn for Business workshop. I've done workshops for, 2 to 5 people within a company, or just I organized my own so people independently can come in. And now I do a lot virtually. So I have one coming up. It's a mini workshop on the 22nd of June, but I'll keep having different things. And this particular one is I will share 3 tips. Then there's Q&A. And then I will do live reviews of people's profiles. So just mini tips. Because that's something that's hard to get. Because most people just, there's a webinar. Yeah, I'm writing down, but you never get any feedback on your own.
Yeah, and for you to go through and actually say, oh, you could do work on this, or you could work on this.
Exactly.
We love doing that.
Absolutely.
That was really popular yesterday. I did a presentation for PONG, the Professional Opportunities Networking group locally. In fact, if you are looking for a job and you happen to be on here, that's a good group to join. And that was really popular. They extended the time slot by 15 minutes because people kept saying, can you look at my profile?
Beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
I'd love
awesome.
to do that.
Beautiful. Well, if you'd like Heike to look at your profile, make it better, make it beautiful, or give you some of those LinkedIn tips, find her event. We have a page on our website, connectshow.com/Heike, HEEMANN. Don't forget the double E's. Don't forget the double N's. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Loved it.
And we're ready to move on.
Are you a solopreneur, freelancer, startup business, or any business that indeed tracks time and needs to invoice for their services? I know I just said tracking time, but don't worry. Let me introduce you to Dinvey Ascent, Milwaukee's very own time and billing platform designed with you in mind. We're offering Dinvey Ascent to our Milwaukee community for the low price of $0. And we're doing this because we truly believe in empowering our local community and fellow startups, and because we know that time tracking can make your business more successful and more profitable. Spreadsheets can only do so much, but through automation, your data can tell you a story and help you lead to better business decisions. Dinvey Ascent makes time tracking a breeze through visualizing project budget and available hours. So come experience the Dinvey difference today. Scan the QR code or email me for a personal one-on-one.
I just want to put my difficulties. Oh, we're back.
We're back. We have Cassandra Wind with us. Welcome. Cassandra is an acupuncturist, author, coach, speaker. She is a craniosacral therapist and storyteller whose passion is sharing her experience of walking away from violence and trauma to bring hope and healing to other trauma survivors with an integrative approach. Her 40-plus year career in Western medicine, working with infants, children, teens, adults, and the elderly, has taught her that healing encompasses more than the body.
In her passion to help others with their challenges, Cassandra sought out non-traditional healers for deeper understanding and wisdom. She believes that trauma leads to isolation, anxieties, sleep issues, learning issues, abusive parenting, and weakens communities. Her passion is to help as many parents with trauma find peace, joy, and community. Welcome, Cassandra, to the show.
Welcome, welcome,
I'm
welcome.
so excited to be here.
Excellent. Oh, the bio just brought me in. We're going to take you right back to the audience question. Mm-hmm. Question number 1 is, how do you view yourself while you're making, that's not the audience question.
That's our audience.
Oh, while you're making a hard decision.
Yeah.
It's just worded
we
differently.
Tailored it towards coaching.
Got it.
That was the question.
When people come to me and ask me questions and they want to answer right away, I take the time to really get to know them and where that question's coming from. I really have to dig in and say, okay, that I'm just meeting you, but what is that about? Is this about right in the moment, what's happening now? Where did that come from? So I find out more out about where they're struggling and in what area of their life they're struggling. Is it personal, or are they hearing things from other people in the family before giving any input? So it's really slowing the process down, finding out where their heart is at the moment, or is it something that there's shame around, or they're being criticized, or they're feeling insecure? What is that?
Yeah, so I guess paying attention to what you're feeling and thinking is a very important piece.
And sometimes you just want to shove that off to the side. You don't want feelings. You don't want to think about feelings.
Yeah,
but
you want to go afterwards going, well, if I would have thought about that, then I probably wouldn't have made that decision.
Right.
Well, the thing is, if there's any trauma involved on the parent's part, not if they've grown up in it, if they've had a situation, a crisis health situation, you have to find those pieces out before you start to address, because they come from different angles and come from different places within the person. If there's shame, that's really a tough one. Most people end up tearing a little bit and won't answer right away till they feel safe enough. It's just about, sometimes you can't ask the hardest questions when you first meet people, because it's like, who are you? I mean, I've scared people before.
Absolutely.
Learning curve when you come out of school to, like, I know all this stuff, but people can't handle that right away.
It doesn't mean that fits the personality. Yeah.
The first time I was confronted, I was like, or just asked, to help. But I was like, oh, I'm not telling them. Who are they?
Yeah. So we just had a whole bunch of graduations this last weekend. What are some common struggles that parents have with their adolescents or teens?
I think any parent worries. They're excited to have them leave, but did you teach them enough? Are they going to be safe? Will they, know to call me? Will they do that? You want them not to get hurt, but hurting is part of the growth process for everybody. But that they just feel comfortable enough to pick up the phone and call you, that you're not going to judge them, and understand that, life is about growing all the time, or they have a safety net for themselves.
It is so hard, because a lot of people are, like I just said, are taught to shove away those feelings.
Yeah.
But with my kids, I try to be open. And when we're going through tough things, let's talk through it and not pretend it didn't happen, because pretending it didn't happen isn't overcoming anything. It's just hiding it. And now, is it going to come back later? The one thing I think every parent wants to avoid, right? Is that issue going to come back later?
Well, and what I found out, because my kids are 40 and 36, and I have a 26-year-old. So I have, just to show you, I have a son who's married and has a baby. The other son's been in France for over 7 years.
Oh, wow.
And something happened between us when he was taking his PhD exam. And I crossed the line, didn't know it was that big a deal. It's been 7 years since he's wanted to talk to me since.
Oh, that's difficult. Yeah.
And I teach respect, and I teach all that. I reach out to him once a year, and he's not ready yet.
Yeah.
And then the 26-year-old who's, just starting to realize what she wants to be, and she's going for her master's here. So I have a varied, his son who's 40 went to service, and he's just became a nurse in December. So it's varied.
It's a fine line, though, because it also depends on the kid. Like, they just might not be the kind of person who wants to run to their parents with all sorts of things. They want to make those decisions on their own, or go to their peers, and then as a parent, you can't take it personally, or be, you just have to be like, that's the way they want to do their life and their thing. And so you just appreciate all the language that or the communication that they do give you on whatever level they're comfortable with. I think.
And that's kind of what I taught my kids. You know, it's okay if you don't want to talk to your parents. If you feel like we're crossing the line, you know, that's fine too. So, and mine is different because I have the 2 boys from a first marriage and Sage is from a second marriage. So, and I'm single now. So there's lots of dynamics at play just in my own life that I have to let these kids figure out if they wanted to have a relationship with each other. And so, you know, there's lots of things that go on in life, in everybody's life. So,
I think that's beautiful that you're coming right out and saying, hey, my life isn't perfect either. You know, I think that's beautiful because a lot of people want to hide that.
I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect life. I thought there was when I was younger. And then I started growing up and going, you know what? Everybody I meet doesn't have anything what I thought was perfect.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about your rite of passage program and how it differs from other parenting programs.
A lot of parenting programs are just about decision making and about behavior and stuff. It is a parenting mentoring because I don't have all the answers, but I'm trying to get people to look at what are your values. As parents, what are your values? Start there. What do you believe about independence? What do you believe about decision making? What's your value in your relationship with you? With each kid, it's going to be different, right? So I wanted to go over those things with them first and get them grounded about what they're trying to accomplish when they come to see me. Then the rite of passage program was developed out of my own experience looking for answers on how to raise my kids coming out of an alcoholic, violent, sexual assault, all that for me. I didn't have the skills that somebody should have had when they left home. So I didn't know how to think for myself. I didn't know what questions to ask. I was so intimidated, even in front of a therapist. Like, it just was very difficult. I cried every session.
Yeah.
And so I said, what do I want to do? Well, I happened to meet a woman who is an author, and she came to this church that I was going to and taught about her vision quest, going on a vision quest in the Aborigine tribe, and listening to the story about her process of finding out when children are born or a woman wants to have a child, they go out into the wilderness and sit with Mother Nature and wait till she asks Mother Nature to tell her about the soul that she wants to bring in. Then Mother Nature gives her the song. She comes back to the village. She teaches that song to the children and to the tribe. So when they have a birth, when she's ready to birth, the whole village comes around. You don't just go in a tent and have a midwife. The whole village comes and sings the song. So as the baby's being birthed, the baby hears its song.
Wow.
So the other part of that is they teach, and this is where I come from, they don't name the child permanently. The child gets a name, and as it grows in the community, it's taught to try everything, to make mistakes, do whatever. And when you're between 7 and 9, they come to the leader and say, okay, I know what my name is.
Oh,
and
wow.
So when that happens, the leader gets everybody together. They have a dance, they have traditions, they eat and feast, and then they bring the little one up and he gets to announce to the village what his name is. They're also taught that their purpose in their life is to keep learning, to keep making mistakes. And you can rename yourself every 7 years or to 9 years as you grow up, because you're always learning and becoming. There isn't an end to it. So the premise of, oh, that made sense to me for my life. How can you explain all this that happened here and what I'm doing now? Because I'm still making mistakes and I'm still learning. Business can challenge me. So doing this is all new to me. I have a terrible fright of cameras, and video will tell you that, or pictures. It takes me 2 years to get a new picture from my LinkedIn career. But the basis was how I raised my kids was, don't just take my word, ask other adults.
Yeah.
You don't think this is right, find a different way. Your mom doesn't know a lot of stuff. She knows a lot, but maybe not in certain areas. You have my permission to go. So I didn't get that experience growing up. I was pretty isolated. You couldn't talk, you couldn't speak. You were never allowed in the same room as other adults. It was always a show.
Yeah, so you made sure you weren't going to repeat that.
Yes.
No. So that spoke to my soul. So when I started coming up with the mentoring, I looked at all this stuff that I wish I had learned as growing up, and then set it up into, okay, I need to teach the things like with intuition. What is intuition? How to trust yourself, how to make decisions, nonverbal, verbal, understand what when you look at someone and they're saying something, what else can you read about that and how to trust that gut. Then the next part that's about communication. The next one's about confidence or connection. I'm sorry, connection. So the connection piece is, when I grew up, I was never touched unless I was getting banged around, right, or threatened. So I wanted to, through going to school for massage, I started out there, having an Ayurvedic teacher from India come in, fly in and teach all the principles of, when you have a baby, you're out of society, you get massaged every day, you get fed every day, all this. I was like blown away. What?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The amount of experience that you have is unbelievable.
Yeah. So then I went into martial arts as well.
Yes, I know. She can go on and on.
Wow.
Like if you want somebody to bounce off something to, who's very worldly and knowledgeable, Cassandra is the person.
So when I went into martial arts, I was coming out of my third hospitalization for depression. So I walk in and I'm all excited because I'm afraid my dad's going to show up at my house with a gun. I need to figure out how to protect my kids. I got divorced.
Oh, jeez.
So I walk in, I get the dough back, I sign the papers for 3 years, and go into he goes, follow me. He's Korean and broken English, walks in and they're sparring. And I just slide down the wall and I'm on the floor like this crying, and I'm 30 years old. I can't even speak, and I don't know why I can't speak. So a man and a woman came over, which I found out later. He was a psych doctor and she was a psych nurse. For 2 years, I worked with Dolores, and I couldn't work with anybody else until Master said I learned to keep my eyes open and was able to stand there and get punched and kicked without closing my eyes.
Oh. To heal from that.
Yeah. So I didn't, you don't realize how far till years down the road, 10 years down the road, I look, oh my God, I'm surprised I survived that. But in all those processes, you're learning little bits. So some of that martial arts comes in the acupuncture stuff, like I teach parents, the Ayurvedic. Why do you have 3 kids and they're all different? And here's why. And then teach how to connect with facial. How do you do facial? You just sit on the floor. My kids used to sit on the couch, put a pillow here, and then just massage their face. It was so, and then they would say, hey, do you want one after a while? And it was like, oh my God, that's cool. So they're giving back. And then, things such as acupressure, and then we do reflexology. So we start connecting with body work. Simple things, not overwhelming, but when kids feel relaxed, they start to talk too. They'll share because they feel safe. They feel they can trust. So they would share things in those moments that they had never shared. So as teens and boys, that's huge because it's all about sports, right? And then you'll find out they're not sleeping. Or my son told me he was flunking gym, and I said, what? Well, he didn't want to go in because he had an acne breakout on his back, but he never told me. I'm like, oh, that's so easy, so there was sharing going on. And then, the next part is about building the skills to leave home. So how do you break it down? How do you start that? When do you start that? That teen years from 9 to 13 is so critical because the brain is forming and so many patterns can be laid down in the brain. And then if there's trauma involved, it becomes a permanent change, right? As little ones and stuff. So how can you start relayering the traces and the patterns so the brain starts to develop? The longer you're exposed to abuse, the longer it takes to do that. But it can change, and I have a full life now, and I'm 65, but I feel like I'm like 40.
Congratulations for that.
I'm still learning. I'm here. This is a new experience, and I'm still going for it.
That's beautiful.
I know this isn't part of our original conversation for this show, but recently she just told me that some of your aspirations in the comedy area, and I was wondering if you might want to share some of that. I'm going to totally put you on the spot here.
So I grew up in this. My dad, his side was he's an only child. His father died when I was 12, and his mom had a lot of money, and I didn't find out till I was 40. she had cut records. She was a musician. None of that we got told. The other side of the family, my mom was oldest of 8. And when Grandpa died, when I was probably 2, these 3 priests came in from the Catholic Church, and they were always hanging around. So there's all this stuff about, hearing my mom and her 6 sisters arguing in the kitchen about, the priests, and they're just the alcoholism and the stupid things that they would say or do hilarious. I mean, and I want to just talk about, like, you're growing up in insanity, There was one set of rules when you were at grandma's. There's another one when you're in church, and there's another one over here. And none of them were anywhere near what the ethics we were trying to be put into us. And they're like, just don't look the other way. Like grandma's birthday was always around St. Patty's Day. So when I was growing up, from the time I could carry dishes, I was always at wherever she was having it, whatever hall or whatever. And we were carrying out food. And green beer would start at 6 o'clock in the morning. And all the sisters were cooking and, putting food out for all the people, the doctors, the lawyers, everything that was there. And you're like, what? And then the kids weren't to be seen. But you knew it was almost over because, okay, my mom's side, they were large women, okay? But all the girls would get up and do can-cans. It was like my mother doing a can-can, and you're 12 years old, and you don't want to see it. Trust me.
I have no idea what a can-can is. So
Can-can line, where they kick and they sing a song.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
sounds like a good time.
The old time stuff, So yeah, it was an interesting, and just the things that happened in the home, you go from this severe abuse and then you have to leave and look like normal. But what's normal? So, we get all dressed up and then you're in public and you're like.
But I think the comedy part of it is a great way to like make it nuts, because kids, when they're going through this stuff, are just feeling like it's the end of the world. And if you can bring some comedy into it, it really lightens up everything.
It does.
Absolutely.
It does. We have our jokes amongst us,
Yeah.
So, yeah. So all the things. And then if you looked at any one of my siblings, you wouldn't even be able to tell that maybe 3 of us look alike. But really, our personalities are so all over the board. I mean, we're very unique, and the funny stuff that comes out of that,
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was great to have you on.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was great to get to meet you finally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Same.
Do you have any events or anything coming up that you want to tell our audience about?
At this time, I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
Awesome. So. And then we have a page for you on the show, theconnectshow.com/Cassandra Wind, where you can find out all our information and connect with her on LinkedIn.
I love it. What a great show. I could talk about LinkedIn all day, and I love learning about different brain behaviors. So totally different combinations, but it just worked for me.
If you have a one-on-one with her, she'll tell you all the parts of the brain and how they work.
Really?
Yes.
So I learned
about this.
I had a client, but they were far, and they were very big into the I'm going to say it wrong. Cranial sacral therapy. Did I say it right? Yes. That I should really look into it for my son. For some things that were going on. So it's definitely something I'm very interested in. But she thought it would be better as an in-person type scenario. So
yeah, cranial sacral is really a great therapy for. I have a lot of parents who want the acupuncture for their kids, and I'm like, no, we'll do the cranial sacral. And how I do it with families is I always ask mom and dad to come on that first visit. And it usually goes, dad goes on first for 5-10 minutes, mom goes on next. And then we look at the kids and say, do you want to see what they're doing? And mom and dad are saying, yeah. And I'm like, let me ask him and let him decide. Because we're building trust here. And they usually do. And it's such a nice change in the dynamics in the family to see everybody relax at the same time and all the energy comes down. And kids do really well from them. And I work with a lot of ADHD, kids with birth trauma issues. Those kinds of things are addressed. Car accidents, concussions for kids is huge, or sleep issues. So.
I have a great combination of all of them. So.
I know. Now we're all going to go back to our computers and we're going to go fix our LinkedIn pages to add in all the things that we don't have in there. Because we've all got our reality checked today. We want to thank all of our volunteers so much for helping out today. And thanks for everybody for coming in. We have a full crowd of people back here. It's pretty cool.
It's so cool to
And
see.
next
We got
week,
John back.
We do not have a show, but we do have a picnic. 11 o'clock.
Better come for the picnic.
Better come.
I'm
Because it's
coming.
not going to
I
be
think you're
on LinkedIn, guys.
Nope.
It's not
No
gonna be
picnic on
social.
LinkedIn. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the show. Help our community grow by reaching out and inviting one person you feel would benefit from being part of the journey. Like, subscribe, share. If you're on social, the little app goes a long way in our reach. And if you like something, please comment, even if you're watching the replay. We will see you not next week. See you in 2 weeks, unless you're here. Bye.